You want to talk about fear of failure? A lot of people are afraid of success. There are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, millions of people going through the same thing or some of the same things you are. You're not alone. And there are people out there that can help you. When you get to that point where you're not doing it and you're staring at this information and you're not doing it, that's when you need a coach. First of all, we all want to be heard. And we all want to be seen. And for some people, that hasn't happened for them their whole life.
Hi, and welcome to the Keyconceptspodcast. I often hear people saying that they're stuck. That's why I'm excited about my special guest today, Hooman Ghazanfari, the CEO and founder of Ghazcoaching and the Sacramento Life Coach Institute. Hooman, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Corey. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hooman, for people that are listening and aren't familiar with Ghazcoaching, could you describe what you do and the type of people that you serve?
So what I do is I make meaningful and impactful changes in people's lives through the professional coaching. The type of people I work with typically are people who have had some sort of a background that has had a traumatic experience. Oftentimes it's from our childhood. We've had difficult experiences where, let's just say we had a parent who berated us, or, people who are either verbally abusive or emotionally abusive. And a lot of times those sorts of experiences leave an impression with us, which makes us think that, for example, we're stupid, we aren't going to amount to anything, and we end up becoming our own worst critic, our harsh inner critic, and really beating ourselves up when things don't go our way. And so those are typically the people who come forward and ask me for help. And I provide them a space to open up and be vulnerable and talk about some of the stuff that they're struggling with. And we unpack it all, and I help them understand where they're stuck. I help them understand through the conversation and through the way that they bring forward their thoughts. I will listen for those thoughts through what they're saying and help them process what they need to do to overcome those self-limiting beliefs. When we can find that inner peace for the individual, then inevitably, I guarantee you, inevitably, you're going to show up differently in all these different areas of your life. You're going to experience things differently. People are going to experience you differently. And just having that newfound perspective on the context of some of the stuff that you're going through is going to help you be able to move through it, frankly, with more grace.
What's the difference from coaching and therapy?
So when you're working with a therapist, you're working on healing, and there's different techniques that they use to draw things out and help the person heal. Oftentimes when people are looking for a coach, it's because they've tried therapy and it didn't work, and they're still at a level of frustration, and they reach out and they want to hire a coach to see if, maybe they just need someone to be more direct with them and tell them to try things differently. But with coaching, we're more focused on the present and the future, and setting goals and then understanding what some of the obstacles are to those goals. When you're in a leadership position / manager in an organization or supervisor, you really are like a parent. Like you're running the show as sort of like this parental figure of the organization / team. And people will see you that way. Employees will see you that way. Like you may be like a father figure to them, or like someone might be a maternal figure to them. And so if they have some sort of an issue with their dad, you're going to be that paternal figure that they're going to sort of duke it out with over this particular issue. So it's good to be mindful of that we want to create a safe space for people to work. So we're not showing up and yelling at people and triggering them, but also be aware of people who are trying to elicit that sort of a reaction from you. They're trying to irritate you and get under your skin so that they get that reaction, which is their reward.
You do something called the coactive coaching style. So can you give me an overview of what that is and what that looks like?
Yeah, I'd love to. So when we look at pure coaching, it's very hands-off. Like I'll sit back and everything you say, I will put it back on you. Like we don't collaborate at all on the solution. It's all purely coming from the client. When you do coactive coaching, like we come to an understanding about what those issues are, and then we lay out these solutions, possible options, I should say, on the table. And then, so, you might have 3 or 4 solutions that you come up with, and there might be 1 or 2 that I can think of that you haven't said yet. And once we've exhausted your options, I may put those out there as well so that we can look at all the options that are available.
Why couldn't you just give them the solutions yourself? What's the benefit or the power that comes in with letting that person self-discover something that would fix
I love that
the issue
question.
they're going through?
Yeah, it's so much more powerful when you hear yourself say something than if someone else tells you. If I tell you you're exhibiting self-sabotaging behavior, you're going to be like, well, that's just his opinion, right? Or if I tell you you should, do X, Y, Z, well, that's coming from me. And then sometimes if you're used to being someone as a parent, just telling you what to do as opposed to listening to you, that may even trigger you, may turn you off. So by collaborating and opening up the options, I'm allowing you, I'm not going to say I'm empowering you, I'm allowing you to empower yourself to come up with the best solution.
When people first reach out to you, is there a common challenge that you typically see?
Stress, frustration, and anxiety. And all those manifest themselves in different ways. Some of the stress could be around their work. Some of the frustration and anxiety could be around the way they're showing up in even social situations. And typically underlying that is some element of it's almost like this is what I've been told I'm supposed to do, but I can't drown that noise out. So I feel like I'm doing it, but I'm only doing it because it's what I've been told to do, as opposed to it's something that they truly know that they want to do themselves.
You have 25 years as a firefighter as well. So is that what inspired you to get into life coaching, or was it something else?
What inspired me to get into the fire department inspired me to get into coaching, which is the burning desire, pardon the pun, sorry, but it was the burning desire to help people. What has really been rewarding for me as a coach are those aha moments with clients. And it's kind of mind-blowing for them. And I can see it. And so I can see that it's creating the change that they want. And that's part of when we get to that achievement that really, it gives me goosebumps. And that's the reward for me, honestly, are those goosebumps of seeing someone's life shift and seeing it going in a totally different direction.
So let's say someone does reach out to you for the first time. What does that first call look like?
It's a chance for me to connect with them and vice versa, for them to get to know me and know that they can trust me with anything. And trust, it's not just the information, but it's known that they can trust me with vulnerability, that they can say anything, they can exhibit any emotion, and that I can hold that space with them, and that I have that capacity to do that. There's no real structure to it. I just want to find out where they're stuck and whether or not I can help them.
Do you see people fall away from the action plan?
It's all part of the process. It's not going to be a straight line. There's going to be some setbacks along the way. There's going to be moments where there's self-doubt and second guessing or, negative self-talk. And that's where the growth happens. So we want to identify that, because otherwise you do it yourself. I mean, I tell people, you can go on ChatGPT and say, hey, come up with a personal development plan for me. And that thing will spit out literally 6 pages of stuff you can do right away, right? So go do it. And when you get to that point, whether it's career development, starting your own business, exercise, whatever it is, and you're staring at this information and you're not doing it, that's when you need a coach. Because a very effective coach will help you break through those obstacles and those self-limiting beliefs, those things that tell you that you can't do it.
Is there a common thing that causes people to be resistant to change? Is it just fear?
Fear is the most common one. They're afraid to delve into some of this stuff. Regardless of what needs to happen for that change to occur, it's going to be painful in some way, right? And so we need to lean into that pain. Some of it's emotional pain. And some of it is, if you're trying to get into shape and trying to do exercise, there's going to be some physical pain as well. So we need to lean into that and understand that that's all part of the process.
What is that short-term motivation versus that long-term transformation?
Yeah. So the long-term transformation takes time, obviously, right? Especially if you've been in these old habits for a while. Or let's just say you've even developed a reputation at work that lends itself to being a certain personality or a certain character type, that stuff is not going to shift overnight. The short-term motivation, it would be things that are more tangible that people can see on the horizon as something that can happen more quickly, and those oftentimes will be more motivating for people because they can see that it's not going to take as long, and oftentimes we're impatient. But at the same time, some of the greater rewards come from the long-term plan and the change that we see over time.
For those that don't know the difference from like, hey, do I just need to learn something versus do I need to be more self-aware, IQ or EQ, can you explain the differences of those two terms?
IQ, to me, it has to do more with like your intellect, and it might be like high-level decision-making in a vacuum, and your ability to sort of process information and understand things on a larger scale or more of a global level. When it comes to EQ, we're talking more about like your emotional intelligence, right? That like, okay, or what kind of an impact do I have in the way that I show up with the people around me, whether it's my family members, my friends, my peers, my direct reports. And that's where that self-awareness piece is so important.
Where do you think that some of these AI tools might be helpful, and where do you think they fall short?
Where it is today is sharing information. You can have a little bit of accountability where if you have an account, it will set reminders for you or tell you to do certain things. But even then, it's that when you have a coach, that person is putting everything back on you. And what you're trying to do with ChatGPT or with any one of these AI devices is find something external that makes you do the things you want to do, as opposed to having that come from within. They're just there to sort of help support you. And they might even have information about stress and anxiety and how to overcome it and all that stuff. But they're not there with you to understand exactly where you're stuck.
Between the people that you've coached and you've helped, do you have any like testimony that stands out?
I've had several people tell me that I saved their life. For someone that comes from the fire department to be in a business like this or a role like this, and people tell you that, it's a profound statement and not one that I take lightly either. Here's part of my motivation for reaching out, like even podcasts and stuff, is I know there's people out there suffering. I know because I meet them every day. I meet them in the most unlikely of places. And you start talking to someone, you tell them what you do, and within minutes, a perfect stranger is crying in front of me and telling me about their life and what they're struggling with. So I know they're out there. And by all means, if you're going through something right now, please know that you're not alone, that there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, millions of people going through the same thing or some of the same things you are. You're not alone, and there are people out there that can help you.
Transformation Day. Can you tell me about what that is and what occurs and what that's all about?
Yeah, so Transformation Day is going to be a fun workshop. We have one coming up on March 28th at the Marriott in Rancho Cordova, California. And so it's going to be a fun day where it's going to be a workshop, and we're going to kind of go through the basic tenets of coaching, but also help people on a deeper level understand where they're stuck. And some of it will be surrounding goal setting, self-awareness, and doing exercises in groups where we share about ourselves and learn from other people, like what their perception is, and also share our perceptions with others. But I want people to understand that it's going to be a personal growth day, that it's going to help you to understand yourself better and to get the skills you need to live a better life.
Is there one thing that stands out or one thing that you've learned from being a life coach?
Oh, there's so many things I've learned from being a life coach. I'll just be perfectly honest with you, Corey. A lot of the growth that's happened for me is because I realized that if I was going to be coaching other people, I needed to lead a healthy and productive life. I needed to model that for other people, and also understanding through overcoming my own self-limiting beliefs and inner conversation and turmoil, that when I can resolve that myself, it just makes me a better coach and a better person. So doing my own internal work and gathering information and being a student of the game of life is something that's a lifelong process for me.
If you had to highlight one quality, what quality do you think makes a good coach?
I think that the best quality for a good coach is to be a good listener. Because here's the thing. First of all, we all want to be heard and we all want to be seen, right? So, and for some people, that hasn't happened for them their whole life. Their parents didn't pay attention to them. When they're at work, they feel like they're invisible.
If someone's listening right now and they're on the fence about getting some coaching, what would you say to them?
Well, I'd start with like, why do you want to do it? Right? There's a reason why you're having that thought. Like, I want to hire a coach. Really? Okay, why? Like, what's in it for you? Right? Like, oh, well, this guy's, he's on TV. Coach Ghaz is on Corey's YouTube channel. I want to meet him. But why? There's got to be something in it for you. And so we all have to understand our own reward system. And, maybe you want to make more money. You want to show up differently at work. Maybe you want to be more successful. Maybe, and ultimately all that stuff leads to like, I just want to live a more fulfilled life and I want to be happy. Right. And then we all want that. What's the gap between getting there and where you are now? When you identify that gap, like that's why you need a coach.
For someone who wants to reach out, where can they find your website? Where can they find your phone number, email address, social media contacts, and how do they get in touch?
Yeah, so the best way to get a hold of me, if you went to my website, www.ghazcoaching.com, that's GHAZ coaching altogether.com, fill out your name and email address and stuff. I would love to have a conversation with you and find out where you're stuck and so we can work on how I can help you live a better life. And then, you can find me if you look me up under my first and last name, which I'm sure is part of the podcast, and maybe we can put some links in there as well. But I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So, and I post content there probably 3, sometimes 4 times a week, mainly around personal development, self-improvement, self-awareness, all those different topics.
Awesome. We'll get the pop-ups on the screen as well as the description below with all of the references to the social media handles, the website, the email, and so on and so forth. So we do a section where the last guest leaves a question for the next guest. And the question that I have for you is, what is one word or phrase that describes your internal motivation?
I'll say it in one word: kindness.
Kindness.
Yeah. I heard this quote just recently. You can be nice or you can be kind. It's so much easier to be nice, right? Like being nice is just sort of on a very sort of a superficial level, but to be kind to someone takes work. And that's like going out of your way to put effort into whether it's a relationship or to help others. That takes so much more effort than just sort of being nice to someone in passing. So if I was to pick one word, it would be that.
Nice. Be kind. Well, Hooman Ghazanfari, again, the CEO and founder of Ghaz Coaching and the Sacramento Life Coaching Institute, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. Pleasure's all mine. Thank you for having me, Corey. I really appreciate it. I had such a blast today. Thank you very much.
Well, today's conversation reminded us that growth isn't about fixing yourself. It's about taking a step back and understanding yourself better so you could achieve that transformation. So thank you for watching this episode of Keyconceptspodcast. We'll catch you on the next one.